also back with Gwinnett Lawns and beautiful. Ooh, look at that fall sky. It's windy out here, Atlanta, Georgia. Today is Saturday, October the 19th, 2023. And you know that point where you get fed up? You just can't take it anymore? Well, I'm at that point. I'm fed up with this. So let me show you what the problem is. Speed Feed 500 head. I bet you know where I'm going with this one. All right, if you're not familiar, the Speed Feed 450 head, and yes, this is a brand new one, is what used to come on like the 3020s. I think the 410s, they have one that's a little bit larger. And I always put it on the 2620Ts. I would take the 400 off and put on the 450 because it held more line. It was a little bit more robust. And I run the .130 line. So it just made natural sense to use that one. And when the Speed Feed 500 came out, it was supposed to be the end-all be-all of the Echo Speed Feed trimmer heads for the large size. Well, people started having problems with them. And the main problem is and I'm going to show you the difference between both of these trimmer heads, but the main problem was that the redesign allowed the heat to get transferred from the gear case inside to the spool and melts the line together. Well, that's not any good. Now, I was not experiencing that because the larger .130 line, the low noise line that we use, it wasn't getting melted. Now, every once in a while, the line would fail to feed out because I run about, let me see, I run about 15, maybe a little bit less, 12 feet, about 12 feet of trimmer line of the 130. And that's a lot. That fills the spool up. So sometimes it would get a little tight in there, but it never welded itself. So when I started using this 105 line to test, well, it started happening to me over and over and over. And I'm not wrong. We're not out here in a field or doing ditch lines, so where we're running the trimmer 30 minutes straight, right? I know some guys do that, and you're gonna have more heat build up because it's just constantly going. But it was enough to where I was like, okay, there's a problem here. And the most common trimmer size line is a 095, which is even thinner, and I can see how people would have even more problems because the thinner the line, the easier it is that the heat's gonna melt it. So with that being said, this is coming off. I'm gonna bulletproof this 450. All right, that's the bulletproof right there with this bolt. I got my tool made right here. If you have an Edge It Pro, you can't get to the locking indentation in the side to spin this head off. I'm gonna show you how I do it. I made this little tool right here, and let me get that and we'll be back. All right, so the very first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a wire brush and just clean around this bolt right here. This is the bolt right here that you grease the gear case with. And since I'm going to be changing this head, I'm gonna go ahead and also see if I need to add any grease to there. And I'm just gonna clean this. We don't wash our trimmers. These are working trimmers. This trimmer has almost 500 hours. So I will do a 500-hour review on it. And I have an hour meter on all my pieces of equipment. All right. So the way this tool right here is basically, you know these yard signs, right? They have the metal, it's a little bit thicker than a coat hanger. That's all this is. I just cut a piece. It's about 8 inches long. I bent it enough to get in behind here, and I'm going to show you this in a minute. But the way that you have to take the head here off, okay, is that there is a notch on the side that you normally could see if you didn't have this on here, right? But since you have if you have this on there, you will have to use like this. You can't get a screwdriver in there. It's I've tried it, it's not gonna work. So where is the notch? The notch is equal, it's on the side, it's in line with the bolt, okay? And I've got my motorcycle tire changing stand just holding this up, so I'm gonna try to do this. So, bear with me here just a minute. So in line with this right here, I'm just going to, and I can't see where it is. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to slowly rotate this head around until I feel it. You will feel it engage with the half notch. Now see it. See how it engaged? All right, so remember that these heads are opposite thread. I guess you'd call them right-handed threads. So normally you would tighten the head, whoops, you would tighten the head, and you have to hold the base, not this part right here. So I'm trying to do this and not try to get a good shot for y'all. Okay, so I'm gonna grab this part right here, right? And I'm just gonna rotate it. Okay. I'm gonna leave this here so you can see exactly what was going on in the background. Okay. So that comes right off. And you see that notch right there? That's the notch. And that's perfectly in line. It's perfectly in line with the bolt. That's how you know, okay? So I've got something wrapped around here. It's a weed or something. Okay. That's it. And the way that you take this off, if you wanted to, is there's 3 bolts right here. It's the same 3 bolts that hold the factory trimmer guard. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do, I'm just gonna leave this like this. All right, so this is the Speed Feed 500 head. Now, what do I like about this head? It's a little easier to get this cap off. It's still quite difficult if you're, so what I do is I pop one end of these tabs out and just try to wedge it out like that. Okay, so it comes apart like that. Here's the spring in the center and there's the bolt. I'm not going to reuse this. All right, so here's the problem. Here's the spool. Try to take this out without. Okay, so here's the spool, right? And this is the problem right here. Well, supposedly it's the problem. This fits in. You see how this is square right here? I'm going to show you the 450. It's round. It's a different design. So this piece of metal is transferring a lot of the heat from the gear case down the shaft into this, right? And then it just basically heats this whole thing up and it melts the line. Now this line is not melted right here. And I will let you guys know what type of line this is after I get done testing the whole donut one. But this is brand new. I just put it on there. Okay, so there's the spool. And I mean, that's it. It just goes like this. Now these parts are not interchangeable. Okay, so it just goes down like that. All right, so that's the 500 head. Let me show you the 450 head. See, this is round and that's square. I'm talking about this, whoops, this plastic piece right here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to take this, pop this off like this, and then this. Whoops. Boy, I'm just all thumbs today. All right. So here's the metal part of the 500, and it's square, right? So this just fits like this. Now I've seen pictures, you can see how this is starting to deform a little bit. It's not too bad. I mean, it's still serviceable. All right, and then I'm gonna take this cap apart. Now, these 450s are harder to take the cap, like a lot harder to press this tab and take these out. I usually have to use like a screwdriver or something. And let me grab one. That is one thing that I like about the 500 better, okay? If there's anything, if I have to take this cap off in the field, this is what I normally do. And sometimes I'll use a key. You have to press this down, and then sometimes you can get in there and just see how it pries out a little bit. These are very difficult. So that's out. Now don't look at this yet. Here are the two heads. Okay, they look very similar, but you can see that the tab is wider on the 500, so I can't interchange the caps either. The center is pretty much the same. All right, so that's the cap. And then here is the spool. All right. So you see how the spool of the 450, I'm gonna take this line out. This is the Echo. I think this is Crossfire line. This is 095. I don't really like this line. It's not my favorite. But you know what? I probably will use it. Now the other thing is, this tunnel in here that goes through is smaller on this one than on this one. So here are the two spools, okay? Now this comes out, and this comes, see the difference? This is mostly plastic, and it's round, so you can't interchange these. Now, the other thing that you have to keep in mind is there's an arrow on here about which way, according to whether it's right or left, spins. So, because you can use these heads on a variety of trimmers. So it would either go like that or like that, depending on which way the trimmer spins. But with this adapter, or with this centerpiece, it just goes in like that. And then I'm going to show you the difference in the plates. Okay, you can see this has got I call it a U. It's got an insert. This is made into the cap. So they're completely different. Not interchangeable. And then basically you just take this and just put that back in like that. And then this will go just like that. So what do I have to do to the 450 to make it so that I like it? Okay, so there's a couple things. Number one, I got to bulletproof the cap. And bulletproofing is just taking this 3/8 inch bolt. This is 1 inch long. I've got a fender washer, a lock washer, and the nut. I'm going to pull this off, right? It comes out just like that. And then I'm going to drill a hole in the direct center and thread this assembly in here so that the head of the bolt and the 2 washers are on the outside. So when you're bumping this on the ground and on the concrete, it's hitting this, and this is what's getting destroyed, not the cap. I've never had to replace one of these caps. I've got caps that are years old. When the bolts wear out, I just pull this out and put a new bolt in there and nut and all that. So super easy. I have a video on how to do this, so I'm not going to show you that. I'm going to go ahead and do this, and we'll be right back. All right, so I have bulletproof this right here. I put some Loctite on there just to keep it nice and tight. All right, now I've got the head cap here, and then we've got this portion right here that will go on here. All right, and I've got my spool. So on the echoes themselves, this part, you see there's a number 1 right there. Hopefully it'll pick it up. So this will spin this way. If you flip it around and you take this out and you put it the other way, like that, then it'll spin counterclockwise. So I actually want it like that, okay? So the ground, the part that faces the ground is going to have the 1. Just remember that. Then I'm just going to take this, I'm just going to set that down like that, all right? So it just fits in there just like that, all right? And then we'll take the cap and just, you see there's 2 notches right here, and then there's 2 holes here. We'll just line those up. There we go. And so the base plate here and the spool are locked, and this is the part that moves, okay? And then we'll take our cap here, and then we'll just squeeze it together, okay? And this is the other thing that is easier on the 500, is that this is harder to take apart. So, but it doesn't jam. So I want to show you guys, I don't know if you can see it, but the case is full of grease, and I haven't added any. I just took it off to check it. And use the Echo grease in the tube. Okay, so don't forget to put your, this is your gear adapter, and there's the notch that I was talking about. And here's the notch on this side. So when they line up, I'm just going to leave this here while I spin the new head on. Now, there's one thing that you can do if you want. This tunnel inside, I call it a tunnel that goes all the way through. What I have done in the past is I have taken a drill bit and just drilled it out just a little bit so that the 130 line fits better. And let me grab a piece of line and I'll show you. So here's a piece of the 130 line, and you know, on the package it says very specifically right there that it fits 130, but there's 130 line, it's really tight, okay, going in there. I don't like that. I found that it, consequently, this one right here, the 500, it's very loose. It's easier for it to feed out. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my drill bit and just, I'll show you guys how to do that. It just makes the line feed out a little bit easier. All right, so this drill bit I'm going to start with, this is a 9/64, and I don't remember if this is enough. I don't think it is. I think I'm going to have to end up using the 5/32. But it's very, very simple. I mean, there's almost no resistance. All I'm basically doing, I think there's a little bit of molding, plastic molding, like a burr in there. See, it's not hardly doing anything. I don't think that's going to be enough, but now if you're not going to run a 130 line, yeah, it's still too tight, then this the 095 line is perfectly fine, right? So if all you're going to be doing is running a lot of 095, then just, you know, leave it alone. But we run the bigger line. All right, so I'm going to do a 5/30 seconds. It's a little bit fatter drill bit. And I'm going to put it on the very end of the drill because I want to reach further down in there. I'm just going to hold it like this. See, there's just a little bit of plastic coming out, just a tiny, tiny bit. All right. Now let's see what this does. Much, much easier. Okay, so that's all I would recommend doing, is just, if you're gonna do this, don't go any higher than a 5/30 seconds. All right, so we'll make sure the number 1 is right here. We'll make sure our adapter's in there. Go ahead and put that in like that. I'll take the cap, again, line up the tabs. Okay. And I'll take this. I'll go ahead and squeeze that together. Okay, now, so the only other thing is, you see the arrows? On the 450, the arrows are on the top to show you where to line up the eyelet. Well, there's a problem because the top of this, you can't see it if you have an Edge It Pro. If not, then you don't have to worry about it. So what I'll do is right here where the 2 arrows are, there's a little ridge. It lines up with this ridge and this ridge. I'm just going to take a grinder and just grind that away. So I will know all the time that the arrow, this is where the arrow points, and I need to have that lined up with the eyelet to feed the line in. All right, it took about 10 seconds. So I just took the little ridge off here and took it off here, so I'll be able to know when it lines up. So, go ahead and put this on. Okay. All right, so I want to show you guys something. I always had trouble with feeding the 500 with this line, and it instantaneous. It's so much faster. I would have to, because this is curved, it would want to kind of go around the spool inside the 500. And this is what cost me the most time, trying to reload this thing, but it's instantaneous with the 450. That's another plus to having the 450. I think that when the line is not perfectly straight on the end, see, this is pretty straight, so it'll load fast. That's the way it should be. You won't waste time. All right, so I've got the notch here, right? I've got this trimmer upside down. So remember, this is going to go on opposite. So normally we would twist it the other way, but okay, it's gonna. And remember again to do it by the base plate. Okay, that's fine. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to utilize this line. Oh, I have it lined up. Nope. Helps if you have it lined up. Thought I did. It's hard to do it upside down. Sorry, the high school that's near us is having a football game. So I'm going to show you an easy way to wind this line. Most people will, let me do this trimmer. Most people will hold the base and wind this around like this, right? But you see the lines getting all tangled, right? Don't do that. Don't do that, because it's just going to make a mess. Hold the base and then crank this around. I'm just holding and letting go of the base so it winds. You notice the string is not getting all tangled up. This is the fastest way to do it. Normally I wouldn't be doing this upside down. Okay. Now I run my string a little long. That's about how I, no, maybe one more click. Okay, so there we go. All right, so let's take it out and see how it does. So I had to get some hearing and eye protection on. So I'm gonna do a little edge test here, and let me shorten the line, and then I'll bump it. We'll see if it feeds properly. Oh yeah. Now obviously I wouldn't run the string that long, but you can see how easy it feeds out. So oops, we'll do an edge test. Alright, so this feeds really, really nice. And you can see, we try not to bump this on the grass, if at all possible, because it will scalp the grass. That's why we put the bolt in here. So we can bump it on the concrete. It doesn't mar the concrete up, but it also doesn't tear the head up. This head will last indefinitely, or the cap, I should say. Okay, so speed feed 450 head. I also have on the trimmer, I've got a carabiner, and we keep the line. These are just file clips, so that's enough line for a long time. So anyway, I don't know what else I can tell you guys other than I'm very disappointed in the Speedfeed 500. I'm sure that Echo will eventually work out the issues with it, but I'm darn sure that the issue is this right here.